The Liberal government is trying to beef up Canadian cybersecurity with its new bill, C-26, but what's not covered in that bill is Canada's agri-food sector. And that's concerning, obviously, to some industry experts who say cyber attacks aimed at agricultural products have been on the rise, with 13 known to federal officials just this year. For a closer look at this issue, CEO of Beauceron Security, David Shipley, is joining us this morning. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
This is obviously very worrying, not just for the people inside this industry, but for really all of us. Let's talk about some instances. Sobeys was hit with a cyber attack. That was in 2022, cost about, well, a little more than $30 million. What makes this sector such a target and so appealing?
So this is not a sector where there's wide margins, and the push to become ever more efficient affects everything from the farm to the production and distribution to the grocery store. And this creates opportunities. When criminals can disrupt something and cause pain, they can make big money. When they hit JBS Meats in 2021, the largest producer of meat in the world, they got an $11 million ransom. And they actually increased meat prices for Americans, the wholesale prices, by 25%. Because of that disruption.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because a consumer watching this right now, a Canadian, just going, well, okay, this is the company's problem. It's not my problem. But no, that's not the case.
That's not the case. These companies don't absorb these costs. These costs are actually part of the inflation story we're dealing with. And it's a complex, big issue that's going to require us to deal with this both federally and provincially. And right now, we're not moving nearly fast enough.
Why do you think it wasn't included in this bill?
Right now, the big focus has been sort of focusing on things that they believe they have the most mandate and clarity on. So you've got energy transmission, transportation, telecommunications, and banking. And these are all essential. But we have to eat. Yeah. And interestingly enough, I did some reading on the Canadian Constitution, and the federal government actually has a constitutional mandate in agriculture. So they could. And they missed the boat on C-26. But their strategy, which I keep being told is coming in weeks, so hopefully this fall, the national cybersecurity strategy will also talk about agriculture. If it doesn't, we are putting a big target on that sector.
Let's talk about some of the companies that have been targeted. So not just Sobeys, not just grocery stores, companies like Ontario Pork, the dairy company Agri-Food, Federal Cooperatives, which is a major food supplier in Western Canada. Do we know who's behind all of this? Who's behind these attacks?
Well, largely these are ransomware attacks, and these are about making money and sometimes about expressing interests of the states. And a lot of these groups are Russian-backed gangs that bring in tens of millions of dollars to Russian economy, which actually help fuel things like the war in Ukraine. So this is also an issue of national security on that side. And Russia likes to hit back at those that are supporting Ukraine. And we're right there on the front lines. This is what war looks like now. And we used to, as Canadians, be able to embrace the safety of our oceans. There is no gap on the internet now, and we are feeling that. And we're not doing well taking national security seriously as a country. And we have to. The time has changed.
So what do we do? What do these companies do to protect themselves?
Well, first, we need more investment at the federal government in caring about this. So in the United States, they're actually conducting exercises to go through and see, well, what would happen in various scenarios to the food supply chain, finding problems and starting to identify solutions. That's step one. But we can break this down into three key areas. One, on the farm. How do we make sure that farmers who have smart tractors now, which are internet connected, how do we make sure that they have the right to repair their devices? Those devices are being built resiliently so they can go back to being dumb tractors in the event of a cyber attack.
Right.
So all these systems we depend on are secure and safe by design. For the distributors, what are the regulations and resiliency we expect, and how do we work as a country to deal with that? And at the grocery store, how do we make sure they're resilient? Now, the good news is what we did see with Sobeys was they got hit hard, but stores stayed open. They were still able to distribute food. Let's make sure that the entire food distribution network is resilient.
David Shipley, always good to chat with you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.